Menzies for Rebel News here in Windsor, Ontario, and I'm standing outside the Superior Court of Justice, and I think we might just have witnessed these past 2 hours someone literally getting away with murder. And I'm with Carolyn Crankshaw. She is the mother of Darian Moffat, who in 2018 was murdered. And I guess let's start at the start, Carolyn.
I was woken up in the middle of the night by a phone call from the police saying that my son was in the hospital but stabilized. I had no idea what I was walking into, so I went to the hospital. Long story short, I had found out that he was brain dead, and 2 days later he was taken off life support. He was shot in the head, or actually in the face, basically right in the mouth, and there was muzzle marks on his mouth and a boot mark to his face. So he, and from what the autopsy said, and the Tweety, which was the gentleman that did I can't recall, as like pathologist of some sort, said that he was also kicked in the face, and that kick to the face happened after he was shot. There was literally no other wounds on him. There was no marks, no bruises, a cut on his mouth that was suspected to be from the gun, and then the boot mark that happened after he was kicked in the face after he was shot.
And Carolyn, your son, Darian, he would have been 18 at the time.
Yeah.
What would have been the motivation for this grotesque violence inflicted upon him? As you said, he was shot point blank. 2 days later, in, I guess, a brain dead condition, it was decided to take him off life support. So he passed away eventually. But what was the motive for what happened to Darian?
As far as I know, there was no motive for the whole time. No one knew what happened in the 30 minutes that the third friend that was there had left, because there was only three of them. There was Antonio, Cody, and Darian, according to the main witness's story. And then the main witness, this is what changed everything, came and gave a motive 7 years later, just this past July, gave a motive of saying that there was a hit out on him, and not out on Darian, but on him. And he went to the store, and apparently what Antonio had spread was that he had asked Darian if something happened to Cody, what would he do? And he said that he would call the police.
And sorry, who's Antonio?
Antonio is, Raul Antonio Hueso is the one that was charged with murdering my son, and they were just lifted today and changed for conspiracy to assault.
Yeah, this is an absolutely fascinating turn of events. Raul Hueso was charged with first-degree murder originally, and somehow that got watered down to conspiracy to commit assault. I'll say murder. I think that would be the ultimate assault, death at least. But how did that even happen? How did a first-degree murder charge end up getting diluted to conspiracy to commit assault?
Well, for one, the person that Cody Kennedy, who they had originally charged because it was his house, but he was the one who called 911 when he arrived back home. He changed his story a few times, and he even said during the pre-trials that he was afraid for his life if he told the truth of what happened. He said that Raul Antonio Hueso was the type of man that would kill his sister or harm his little sister if he spoke on what actually happened. So that's why he was afraid to even speak about it.
And the story as I understand from what we just saw these past 2 hours in court, Mr. Wazo is saying he was never the gunman. He was just, I guess, on guard duty outside the house as somebody else carried out this atrocity on your son. Are you buying that?
Absolutely not. And there's also there was text message proof of him saying that he was going there to actually sell marijuana, not to pick any up. And then there was a text message that said he was on his way there as well. And then now all of a sudden the police are saying, well, because they did not find the phone when they arrested him, he didn't have a cell phone on him, but the police knew that that cell phone belonged to him because he had multiple conversations with his mother on that cell phone from when they retrieved the history from the cell phone company, that they knew for a fact that it was his phone. So they know that the police know that it was him that did it, but because of the issues with this, there's not enough evidence that the Crown is able to actually convict him. Additionally, when he was first incarcerated after being picked up for the murder, he had told his cellmate that he had shot a boy point blank in the mouth, and presidential face shot at him was what he said, and that they should put him on T-shirts and call him Ace. And his cellmate did put in a report for that, but he refused to testify.
Unbelievable. And you told me off camera, in terms of the chain of custody of evidence, that became the proverbial shite show. I understand the bullet, or a fragment of the bullet, that was going to be analyzed by forensics. It was couriered out.
And they actually, from the day my son was shot was September 8th. On September 12th was the day that they found Raul Antonio Hueso at a hotel, and they arrested him at a hotel. So he had, 4 days to be able to get rid of whatever the clothes he was wearing. He was found to have 4 points of gunpowder on his clothes. Police did everything they could, and they also lost things. They lost
evidence?
Well, they were the ones who lost the bullet.
Yes, right.
And they also lost video evidence apparently as well, that I found out that in court. And I'm not sure what the video evidence was, but that was lost as well.
Carolyn, let's also give Mr. Hueso the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say he was on sentry duty, and everyone knows he must have known what was going on there. This, wasn't a visit by the Avon lady. If that is the case, then who's the gunman? Who is responsible for your son's death if it is not Mr. Hueso?
That's what I'm wondering too, and I've asked it. So is this going to be investigated further? And I said, well, if there's all these other people that he was claiming he's seen a female, he's claiming he's seen a male, how come he's not providing descriptions of these people? Why didn't he say? He kept completely silent for 7 years, and then all of a sudden this new this new statement comes in from the original witness to add the motive to it. Did not change his story whatsoever, aside to add to it. Why did he all of a sudden create this story? And I did ask the detective, so is this going to be investigated further? And he said there's nothing they can do. They know that they had the killer, but there's nothing that they can do. And even the Crown just said the case was weak and we weren't able to do anything.
Unbelievable. And as I understand it, I think this speaks to the character of Mr. Hueso. While he was on probation for, I guess in this country you can get probation for the most heinous offenses, he violated the probation, didn't he?
He was actually on house arrest while awaiting the murder trial. Okay. And yes, he violated the probation on 2 separate occasions.
And what did he do? What was the violation?
So the first violation, he actually was at a park, allegedly, which the the ankle bracelet that he was wearing showed that, yes, he was in fact there. But he pulled a gun at there was 2 family reunions going on at the time at Micmac Park, which was full of children, and the police were called, and he had left by then, but no one really would talk because apparently, from what one of the witnesses told me, the families were a little bit shady families, I guess, and
But what made Mr. Owezo allegedly pull a gun, and was that gun recovered?
that gun wasn't recovered either. So he pulled the gun and was going to shoot someone. People attacked him to get him away, and he was arrested. And when he was arrested, he was found to have bruising consistent with exactly what the witness had said. My family has obviously suffered greatly from this. There's been so much loss. I haven't been the same ever since. My kids have never been the same since, and it's been a struggle just holding myself together, trying to keep myself together for my family. And I've been, in addition to that, there was a publication ban for 7 years. So I felt very alone in this process, and watching other families, their family members were murdered, and then they're getting a speedy trial. But here I am, waiting 7 years and not even being able to speak about anything. I just felt very unsupported, and I'm not even sure why there was a publication ban in place, because there isn't normally for murder cases.
That's a very good point. I'm glad you reminded me. The only mitigating factor I can think of, if Mr. Owezo was under 18 at the time, but he was 18, so he can't play that get out of jail free card. So that is astonishing that there is a publication ban. I can tell you, as a journalist, 40 years in this game, Carolyn, judges used to do publication bans very sparingly. Now they seem to be handing out pub bans like candy on Halloween night. Were you ever given any explanation by anyone in the justice system why this character was worthy of a publication ban?
So they said that it was because I had provided evidence as well, because I had went through and gotten messages out of my son's messenger and provided those to them. I had obviously his friends looking out and seeing, what they could find out about what happened, because I felt like if there's something that I can do, I'm going to try and investigate further to try and find out what happened to him, because I felt like I was completely in the dark of anything. So this whole process is just, it's been a whole other traumatizing event for me and the family. During the proceedings, which they allowed me to attend via Zoom, they had not instructed me that I could not speak to that, to the witness. And they were talking about how he was not a credible witness. And I was texting him and saying, well, they're saying you're not a credible witness. And then he said, well, can you tell them this? And I'm a little bit naive, because I'm not one that is familiar with the court process or anything like this. So naturally, I emailed the Crown and I told him what they said and what he said. And he just said, what reason would I have to create a story like this? And so they immediately read out what I had emailed to them, to the court, and then they kicked me out of court, chastised me, made me come on Zoom video. And in addition to that, during the pretrial motions, he was on house arrest, not allowed to be on a cell phone, not allowed to be, on social media, texting people. But during recess, he was on a cell phone texting someone. So I screenshotted it with my phone, because it was through Zoom, right, sent it to the detective, and then he was mad. He's like, well, obviously he's not supposed to be on a phone.
Right.
And then he contacted the Crown, and then they put me on the spot, made me come on video and to chastise me and say that, well, he could have been texting his lawyer, but that's his cell phone, and his mom said it was hers, but the Zoom call was being on with his mother's cell phone. So
it just seems that this individual, for whatever reason, is being mollycoddled, that he can do no wrong. Let's cut to the chase. The judge rendered his decision. I thought it was remarkable because I've really never seen this before, which is to say he has served 4 years and 9 months. The maximum sentence for conspiracy to commit assault is 5 years. So the judge had the option of putting him away for another 3 months. Instead, he made him serve 1 more day? What's the deal with that?
I believe because they didn't want us out here when he was released. Also, that information was inaccurate because he was not incarcerated for 4 years and 9 months and 1 day. He was, it was 3 years that he was actually in jail. Yes. So I'm not sure where they got that from.
Yeah, I think you're...
Well, I guess, yeah, the 1 day, 1.5, yeah.
Right, the added time. I think you're right. I think he saw members of the media, and the judge did another favor for Mr. Wozo, which was to prevent him from being scrummed. Because you know what? We don't want his feelings to be hurt with insensitive questions, do we?
No, not at all.
No. Carolyn, it is just absolutely stunning. And I think in the bigger picture, I think especially with our audience, they are seeing the biggest crime wave all over Canada in our nation's history, whether it's car theft, murder, sexual assault, you name it. And the victims don't seem to matter. And tell me too, Carolyn, I mean, you've been going through this horror for 7 years. I like I said, I can't imagine it. This was the only day I've come to court to cover this matter. What I got out of it, and I might be wrong, you tell me, I think what we saw here was a miscarriage of justice.
Yes, absolutely. I know that it was, but at the same time, there is issues when a witness is coming back 7 years later to add things to the story, and the accused didn't speak for the whole 7 years, and then all of a sudden, oh, this is what happened.
Yes,
because he's seen opportunity and bid on it. So.
And it looks like, from what you testified in your victim impact statement, Carolyn, that Mr. Wozo doesn't have any regret, doesn't have any contrition. He was smirking and smiling during testimony. And again, the judge went to bat for him, saying he didn't see that. What do you make of that?
I thought that it was a little bit ridiculous because, for one, that wasn't the judge that was attending when that even happened.
Yes.
The judges have changed about 4 or 5 times. So through that preliminary hearing, that was pre-trial, it was a completely different judge. So my kids know what they seen. I know what I seen. Yeah. He showed no remorse whatsoever. He did smirk, and like, I just think, I feel like the judges and crowns even are just babying criminals and trying to, let them do whatever they want. And, we don't want to offend the criminal, but pardon my language, but the families, basically. Darian was a beautiful soul. He was warm, caring. He was hilarious. He had the greatest sense of humor. He would make you laugh if you were having a bad day. He'd go out of his way to make you laugh. He gave the best hugs possible. He was actually, when he was 17 years old, we were in line, and this was a year before he was killed. in line to renew his health card, and he asked what's this organ donor thing, and I said, well, now you're old enough to decide if you want to be an organ donor or not, and he's like, well, what is it? And I said, if you pass away or something happens, you can donate your organs. And he said, well, sign me up then, I want to do that. So he did, and in the process of that, obviously, he saved 3 lives. So 3 people were able to, they, had his lungs and kidneys and pancreas. So,
Carolyn, I think that's the very definition of beautiful sadness, that even in death, he was able to make 3 other strangers survive thanks to his organ donation. I think by the same token, it also adds another level of tragedy to this case, given his character, given the character of Mr. Wazo. Just absolutely shocking. Last word goes to you, my friend.
So basically, I've been silenced for 7 years. I want to try and have my son's life live on in his death and make something good of it. Obviously, we haven't received justice, and I know we never will. So we'll try to make the best out of a bad situation. I'm starting a nonprofit over the next little bit called Darian's Promise Network, and in which I'll be offering other victims of violence groups, because I find that there's a gap in the system even for that. The waiting lists are really long for anyone to get into grief groups. And then there's support for victims, but again, this is the kind of support that you can't trust. So I want to give them something that they can trust and grow his legacy from there.
Please, Carolyn, stay in touch with us. We'd like to follow up your efforts in that regard. And one last thing, I almost forgot. You mentioned in your victim impact statement that you wanted to give Mr. Wazo 2 books. You were prevented from doing so. Why was that, and what were the books?
So one was a Bible, and then the other one was tattoo. Actually, I have it because my friend tried to give it to his mother, and she went up to them and said, I come in peace, and his mom refused it.
Hey folks, I know you love it when Rebel News tells you the other side of the story, but the fact is we need your help. Unlike the Mark Carney trained SEALs in the mainstream media, we do not accept any government funding, i.e. taxpayer funding, nor would we take it if it was ever offered. But here's where you come in. Can you kindly go to rebelfieldreports.com? That's rebelfieldreports.com. And if you're able to, please make a donation so that Rebel News can continue to bring you the other side of the story.